Hello, this is Ms. Ortiz here, and today we're going to be talking about multiplication arrays with 2 and 3-digit numbers. So we're first going to start off with 2-digit multiplication arrays. So as we're going to go through two problems. The first one is 52 times 35, and the second one is 22 times 44. So this is our first problem, 52 by 35, and this is our array that we will be using. So up at the top is where we're going to put 52, and then over here on this side is where we're going to put 35. Now, when completing these arrays, you want to divide, not divide, make two numbers out of the bigger and original numbers you have. So for example, for 35, I can break that into 30 and 5. And 5 is in the smaller part because it is less than 30. And then for 52, we can break that into 50 and 2. And once again, the 2 is in the smaller part because it is less than 50. So now that we have our numbers broken up and it is easier to solve the multiplication problem, we are going to start by multiplying 50 and 30 together. And a simple way to get the product of 50 times 30 is to ignore the zeros and multiply 5 times 3 and then add the two zeros on the end, which will give you the product of 1,500. Okay, so now we're going to move on and we're going to do 30 times 2. Once again, you can ignore this 0 and just multiply 3 times 2, which is 6, and then add the 0 at the end, which will give you 60. Next, we're going to do 50 times 5. Once again, you can ignore that 0 on the 50, just multiply 5 times 5, which is 25, and add the 0 at the end, and that will give you 250. And then in this last box, we need to multiply our 5 and our 2, and 5 times 2 is 10, so 10 goes in this box. Now, we're not entirely done yet. So after we have multiplied all the numbers that we have, we now need to take these products and add them together. So over here, I'm going to take 1,500, 250, 60, and 10, and add those together. So 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 equals 0. 5 plus 6 plus 1 is 12. So there's my 2 and I carried the 1. 5 plus 2 is 7, plus 1 is 8. So there's my 8. And 1 isn't added to anything, so we just bring that 1 down. And so there we have our product for 52 times 35, which is 1,820. So now what I want to do is I just want to put our 1,820 right here in the first slide I showed you with the two problems. Now we're going to move on to 22 times 44. Once again, we have our array right here, and we're going to put 44 right there and 22 on the other side, and then we're going to break these numbers up. So I chose to break 44 into 40 and 4, and there's my line showing that the 4 is in the smaller spot than the 40, and then 22, I broke that into 20 and 2, and there's my line showing where the 2 and the 20 are. So now we're going to multiply our numbers together, so 40 times 20, ignore the 2's, ignore the zeros on the end, and just multiply the 4 and the 8. That will give you the 4 and the 2, which will give you 8, and then you add the two zeros, which will give you 800, and then we're going to multiply 20 times 4. Once again, ignore the 0. Multiply 4 times 2. That will give you 8. Add the 0 gives you 80. And 40 times 2 is actually the opposite of 20 times 4, and that will also give you 80. Now our last box is 4 times 2, which is 8, so we put our 8 in this box right here, and now we're going to add these numbers together. So I have 800, 80, 80, and 8. Okay, so 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 8 is 8, and 8 plus 8 is 16, so I put my 6 down here and my 1 is up here. And 8 doesn't have anything down here, but it does have the carried 1, so 8 plus 1 is 9, and then we put our product of 44 times 22 right up here, and it is 968. So now I'm going to come over here and we're going to put our answer right here. So that's how to do a multiplication array for 2-digit by 2-digit numbers. Now we're going to make it a little bit more difficult and look at 3-digit by 2-digit multiplication arrays. So we have the first problem right here, which is 312 times 23. And over here we have 528 times 55. So the first problem we're going to do, we're going to set it up the same way using the same box. The only thing is, I will explain what the major difference is in just 1 second. So first we're going to put our 312 right here and our 23 to the side. Now we have to break these numbers up just like we did the other ones. But what is different about these is now we have 3 places. We have ones, tens, and hundreds. So I have to break up this number into 3 boxes. So I'm first going to do 300. I'm going to pull 300 out of 312, and then I'm going to pull 10 and 2. And all of these added together will give me 312. And here are my lines dividing those places. And then 23, just the same as we did in the last 2 problems. I'm going to break that up into 20 and 3, and there's my line. Now we're going to do the same thing, same next step. We're going to multiply all of our numbers here and then add them together. So first we're going to do 300 times 20. Once again, remember, you can always cross out these zeros and just multiply the first numbers. In this case, it is 2 and 3. And 2 times 3 is 6. And then add the 3 zeros to the end of that, and you will get 6,000. Next, we're going to do 20 times 10. Once again, ignoring those zeros. 2 times 1 is 2, and I add the 2 zeros. That will give me 200. And then we're going to work out 20 times 2. Ignore that 0. 2 times 2 is 4. Add the 0. That gives me 40. Now we're going to come down here and do 300 times 3. You can ignore these zeros. 3 times 3 is 9. Add the 2 zeros. That gives me 900. Come over here and we're going to do 10 times 3, which, if you know your multiplication table, you would know that 3 times 10 is 30. And then the last one we're going to do is 3 times 2, which is 6. Now we're not done yet. We still have to add all of these numbers together in order to get the product of 312 times 23. So I'm going to once again come over here to the side and do 6,000 plus 900 plus 200 plus 40 plus 30 plus 6. We're going to add those together, and zeros all the way down up until 6, so that equals 6. 3 zeros, and 4 plus 3, which equals 7. 9 plus 2 is 11, so I put my 1 down here and carry the other one. 6 doesn't have any down here, but it does have this carried 1, so we add those together. 6 plus 1 is 7. And then we're going to place our product up here, which is 7,176. And then just like the other ones, I'm going to go back over here and put the product of 312 times 23 is 7,176. Alright, so this is our last problem. Let's take a look at this one. So once again, we are going to put our biggest number along this line of the array, which is 528. And then over here we're going to put our 55. And just like all the other times, we're going to break this down. So 528, I can break that into 500, 20, and 8. And then put my lines to divide the sections. And then 55, I'm going to break that down into 50 and 5. And there's my line dividing. So now we're going to work on our products of these broke down numbers. So 500 times 50, take away the 3 zeros, 5 times 5 is 25, add 3 zeros, that is 25,000. That's a big number. Then we're going to move over to the second box next to our 25,000, and we have 20 times 50, take away these 2 zeros, 5 times 2 is 10, add the 2 zeros back in, and we get 1,000. Next, we're going to do 50 times 8. Once again, you can take away the 0. We know that 5 times 8 is 40, and then we add the 0, and that gives us 400. We're going to come down here now and do 500 times 5. Ignore these zeros. 5 times 5 is 25. Add the 2 zeros in, and that gives me 2,500. Next, we're going to do 20 times 5. Ignore this 0. 5 times 2 is 10. Added the 0 in. That gives me 100. And lastly, we're going to do 8 times 5, which is 40. Alright, now I'm going to add these products together and see what 528 times 55 is. So we have our 25,000, 1,000, 2,500, 400, 100, and 40. Alright, let's add these together. We have zeros all the way on this row, so I know that's 0. We have zeros all along this row except for 4, so I know that this row is 4. And this row right here, 5 plus 4 plus 1 is 10. So there's my 0, and I carried the 1 right here. Now we're going to move over here. 5 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 9. So I put my 9 right there. And 2 doesn't have anything to be added to, so I just bring that over. And then I'm going to put my product up here, which is 29,040. Alright, so last thing, I'm going to put the product of 528 times 55 right here, which is 29,040. And we are done. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this helped you out a little bit in understanding how to do multiplication arrays with big numbers and breaking them down to make it easier to multiply them. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out. Thank you.